Welcome back. In this particular session, we'll be discussing about relationship. So, relationship is what? Relationship is nothing but association between the two entities. Okay, right? Association between two entities, and there are two types of it. One we call it as a degree, another is the coordinate. Okay, so degree actually talks about the number of entity types that is associated in a relationship, right? So what is a relationship? Relationship, when we are talking about the entities, how entities are associated with each other. Okay, so it has been classified into two thing. One is the degree. Degree means the based on what number of entity types that are associated for that particular relationship. And cardinality is talked about the minimum and the maximum values of the connectivity. Okay, values of the connectivity of that particular relationship itself. Say for example, minimum one instance of this particular, maximum this instance of the of this particular entity will be connected with each other. So associations between entities is called as a relationship, and that we look upon into two. One is the degree, where we talk about how many numbers of entities that are associated with the relation. Another is the minimum and value, maximum values, okay, of the connectivity. Or you can say something like the instance, what is the minimum instance or maximum of that particular of the entity which has the connectivity in that particular relationship itself. So cardinality will be associated with each of this particular degree itself. Please understand, when you talk number of entities, it can be one, it can be two. I will show you in the next slide also. So cardinality will be associated with the each level of degree itself, right? So degree, we have unary, where only one particular entity will be associated in the kind of the relationship. Okay, then we have binary, where two type of entity will be associated. So we call it a degree to be two. Okay, then we have ternary, where three entities will be associated with, where we'll call the degree to be three. And similarly, we have an array, an array degree, where we call as an entity, and number entity will be the, and the degree itself is the n. So we'll now look each one by one. So we're in a relationship. So an employee manages employee. See, this is a beautiful example of relationships. See, for example, in a department, okay, in a department of computer science, suppose we have 20 employees, right, of the department, and we will be having one HOD, right, HOD of the department, who will be managing that particular entity. It's managing that employee itself. Now here, in this particular employee manages employee, right? So we have certain, what kind of relationship is that? One, there are certain employees who will be managing the other employees. Okay, and you will see that this is in my example that I have given you regarding HOD and the employee itself. So there will be one HOD, but he will be managing how many many employees out there. So such kind of relationship is the unary, when you can see only one entity is been associated with it. Okay, right? So there will be, in this particular, when you talk about this relationship, there will be certain meaning has to be associated with it, because we're not able to understand when you talk about this relationship because okay, we are managing that employee. So we give some names which we call it the role name, which will explicitly give us the meaning on this relationship. So we have, say, someone who will manage the employee, which will be the manager. Okay, one who will be under a management will be called as a subordinate. Okay, so for example, in the HOD type of thing, also one will be the HOD, other will be nothing but the the subordinate. If you are talking in a department, okay, if you're talking in a industry itself, so there will be one employee will be managing other employee. So one that employee will be the manager itself, and other will be the subordinate to it. So role names help us to actually explicitly give us a meaning into that, when you're talking about that relationship itself. Okay, similarly, we have a binary relation next. Say for example, this is employee works for a department. So we have two entities, one is employee, another is a department. So employee working for this department. Okay, so this is an example of a binary relation. Ternary relation is a beautiful example. This is regarding a particular doctor patient. A patient visits a doctor, doctor, check the patient, and then he prescribes certain medicine itself, right? So the medicine itself can be one kind of, entity itself, okay? And doctor, what kind of medicine he's prescribed to this particular patient, this type of medicine. So this here we have three entity, doctor, medicine, and patient, and this becomes a, ternary, relationship itself, okay, right? And now we talk about participations in that, okay, right? So one beautiful example is employee and department. You see, one particular employee heads a department, right? Employee, heads a department, and you can see here, okay, here all employee, will not be the, head itself, right? All employee will not be the head itself. So we have a, a complete, what you say, a partial kind of what you say existent. But here each of these department, each of these department will be having a head, right? So and the complete department is there, okay? So there is a full total participants also from the department itself. But every employment is not employee is not head, okay? So that's why we put it as, a partial, what do you say, participations, right? Okay. Similarly, we can have certain attributes in a relationship. Say, for example, in this ternary type, so doctor prescribes some medicine. So when he prescribed it, he may say what is the number of days that he need to take this particular, medicine itself, and what is the dosage itself. Okay, so all these things, okay, doses something like how many times, two at a, two times per day, three times per day, something like that. Okay, so these will be nothing but the attributes which will be associated with the relationship. So somebody, may ask you, when you ever talk about, any relationship. Okay, there may be certain attribute associated with the relation. Give an example. This is one other example where you can talk about where doctor, medicine, and patient. Okay, right? Yes, and see here. Okay, I give an example of a weak entity here. Okay, just to make understand. See, there is a total participations. Okay, so the total participation of the dependent on this particular, employee itself. Okay, so employee itself is a strong entity, but dependent are the small. Or if you say this is spouse also, but okay, so this is an weak entity. Okay, weak entity will be having one, weak ID, which is uniquely identify. Okay, the name itself. Okay, but this dependent doesn't have any kind of existence if employee is not there, right? So this is one of the relationship that I'm so for the, weak entity. It's an employee has n number of this is the cardinality which I will talk about in the next session. When you talk, I will talk about cardinality. So I hope now we are clear in terms of, when you talk about relationships. So it is nothing but association between entities. Okay, we look after one on a degree, other than the cardinality. So degree is nothing but the number of entity types that are associated when you talk about a relationship. And cardinality, we talk about minimum and maximum values of connectivity, right? So cardinality, I will be talking in the next session. So degree, when I was talking, so we have unary, where, degree is one, single entity is there, binary, two entities there, ternary, three entities there. Okay, no, and array, which is the an entity we are talking about. So unary one, degree one, binary degree two, ternary degree, three itself. So we're looking at each example. One, the employee itself and manages the other employees. Okay, so that becomes a, a unary relationship. Then I talk about some kind of role names which actually help us to I understand or give a meaning to the particular relation. Like employee managers, we have the manager and subordinate like role, role name itself. Okay. Then binary relationship, we talked about one example of employee and department itself. So employee works for a particular department. Then ternary would give an example of doctor, medicine, and patient itself. So doctor prescribes certain medicines to the patient itself. Then we see that there is a regarding a participles, partial and total. Okay, the entire, instances will be involved in that, then we call it as a complete total. But only in a few instances, then we call it as a partial. For example, all employees will be not the HOD of the department. So only one particular employee will be HOD of a particular department. One department will be headed by one particular employee. Yes, the entire department is there. Okay, by heading the is been headed by a employee, which is okay. So there it becomes a total. Okay, and here we have the partial. Similarly, I talked about the attributes, okay, of a relationship, where we have in this particular prescription we have number of days and doses as the certain what you say certain attributes itself. Okay, then I gave an of a what you say example of a binary in terms of a weak entity, so employee and dependent itself. Okay, and then you can say total participation and the partial participant is itself. Okay, so I hope relationship in terms of your degree, okay, it is clear. So in the next session we'll be talking about the relationship in terms of cardinality. Okay, thank you so much.